Greeting for the day. I am Ved Prakash Tiwari, Assistant Professor, School of Pharmacy, Banarsi Das University, Lucknow. I am here to represent my views on diffusion principles.
Okay, I will start with diffusion. What do you mean by diffusion? Then we can say that mass transfer of individual molecules of a substance is caused by random molecular motion associated with a driving force such as concentration gradient or a physical process that refers to the net movement of molecules from a region of high concentration to lower concentration under the influence of concentration gradient. Here the example of diffusion. With the help of this example, you can see over here the movement of molecules from high concentration to the lower concentration. When we talk about the types of the diffusion, then we can say that there are the four types of diffusion. First one is passive diffusion, second one is facilitated or carrier mediated diffusion, third one is active transport, and fourth one is filtration. I will start with passive diffusion. Then we can say that net movement of material from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. When we talk about the concentration gradient, then we can say that the difference between the high and low concentration is termed as concentration gradient. Diffusion will continue until the gradient has been eliminated. Here the example of passive diffusion. With the help of this example, you can see over here the movement of molecule from higher concentration to a lower concentration. Next one is facilitated or carrier mediated diffusion. It is the movement of molecules across the cell membrane via a special transport proteins that are embedded within the cellular membrane. When we talk about the active transport, then we can say that movement of molecules across a membrane from a region of lower concentration to higher concentration against the concentration gradient. Last one is filtration. Filtration is movement of solvent or solute molecules influenced by hydraulic pressure. Here the best example of diffusion, facilitated diffusion and active transport. I must tell you, diffusion and facilitated diffusion is a part of passive transport. When we talk about the active transport, then we can say that active transport required chemical energy because it is the movement of biochemical from area of lower concentration to area of higher concentration. On other hand, when we talk about the passive transport, then we can say that it is a movement of area of higher concentration to area of lower concentration. So it does not requires energy. In short, we can say that in passive transport required no energy, and in active transport required energy. When we talk about the principle of diffusion or diffusion phenomena applied in pharmaceutical sciences, first one is release of drug from dosage form. Second one is ultrafiltration, microfiltration, dialysis or hemodialysis. Third one is permeation and distribution of drug in living tissues. Fourth one is estimation of molecular weight of polymers. And last one is prediction of absorption and elimination of drug. Now I will discuss about law of diffusion. Law of diffusion derived by Adolf Fix in 1856. When we talk about the law of diffusion, then it is divided into two categories. First one is Fick's first law of diffusion and second one is Fick's second law of diffusion. When we talk about the Fick's first law of diffusion, then we can say that diffusion flux is directly proportional to the concentration gradient under the assumption of steady state diffusion. It is denoted by J is equal to minus d dc by dx, where J is equal to diffusion flux, d is equal to diffusion coefficient or diffusivity, dc is equal to change in the concentration of the material, dx is equal to change in the distance in centimeter, where diffusion flux, that is denoted by J, is mass transfer through a unit cross section area in a unit time, that is denoted by J is equal to dm by s dt. And second one is Fick's second law of diffusion. When we talk about the Fick's second law of diffusion, then we can say that change in concentration with the time in a particular region is proportional to the change in concentration gradient at the point in the system, that is denoted by dc by dt is equal to minus dj by dx. Now I will discuss about measurement of diffusion. Measurement of diffusion is measured by France diffusion cell. France diffusion cell is the very unique device for measurement of diffusion. France diffusion cell are assembled with donor chamber, flat ground joint, membrane, sampling port, heater, water jacket, receptor chamber, and stir bar. Now I would like to discuss about working of France diffusion cell. France cell apparatus contains two chambers separated by a membrane, and donor chamber consists of known as concentration of solution. Receptor chamber contains fluid from which samples are taken a regular interval for analysis. Temperature should be maintained at 37 degrees Celsius. When we talk about the membrane, membrane may be of excited tissue constructs, and cadaver tissue to synthetic membranes. When experiment starts, solute from donor chamber diffuses through membrane into separate chamber. From receptor chamber, solution is periodically removed for analysis. The test determine about of diffusion that has permeated the membrane. After that, the solution of receptor chamber is replaced with new solution after each sampling. When we discuss about diffusion control release system, then we can say that it is divided into two categories. First one is reservoir devices and second one is matrix devices. I will start with reservoir devices. Reservoir devices is also called as laminated matrix devices. A hollow system containing an inner core surrounded in water insoluble membrane. When we talk about the polymer, polymer can be applied by coating or encapsulation. When we discuss about drug partitions into membrane and exchange with surrounding fluid by diffusion. Drug will enter membrane, diffuse to periphery and exchange with surrounding fluid. When we discuss about the polymer, polymer contain in coating, thickness of coating and hardness of encapsules are rate controlling parameters. When we discuss about the release system, release follow Fick's first law of diffusion. Here the example of reservoir devices you can see over here. First membrane is insoluble membrane and second one is reservoir of drug, and dark spot is showing diffusion of soluble drug by partitioning. When we talk about the matrix devices, then we can say that solid drug of dispersed or distributed in a insoluble matrix, and outer layer of drug is exposed to bathing solution in which it is first dissolved. Then drug diffuses out of matrix, and matrix diffusion system are of two types. First one is rigid matrix and second one is soluble matrix. Here the example of matrix devices. Now I will discuss about solution. What do you mean by solution? A solution is a homogeneous mixture of two or more substances, the composition of which may vary between certain limits. A solution consisting of two components is called as binary solution. The component which is present in large quantity is called as solvent. The component which is present in small quantity is called as solution. When we discuss about the types of solution, then we find that the three state of matter like gas, liquid or solid may behave either as solvent or solute. Depending on the state of solute or solvent, mainly there may be following seven types of binary solutions. First one is gas, second one is gas liquid, third one is gas solid, fourth one is liquid, fifth one is liquid solid, sixth one is liquid gas, seventh one is solid liquid, eighth one is solid gas, and ninth one is solid. Here the nine examples of the binary solutions. Here the best example of solution also. With the help of this example you can understand what is the quantity of solute and solvent.
Now I would like to discuss about vapor pressure.
Vapor pressure, the pressure exerted by the vapor over the liquid surface at equilibrium is called as vapor pressure of the liquid. And if the solute is non-volatile solid or liquid, the vapor pressure of solution is equal to the partial vapor pressure of solvent in the solution. And if the solute is volatile solid or liquid, then vapor pressure will equal to sum of the partial vapor pressure of the solute and the solvent. Now I will discuss about the Raoult's law. Raoult's law says the partial vapor pressure of any component in the solution is directly proportional to the mole fraction. For binary solution of two components A and B, PA is equal to XA and PB is equal to XB, where P naught A is equal to vapor pressure of component A in pure state, PA is equal to vapor pressure of component A in the solution, where P naught B is equal to vapor pressure of component B in pure state and PB is equal to vapor pressure of component in B, the solution. Here the graph between vapor pressure and mole fraction of the solvent.
Now I will discuss about the limitations of Raoult's law. Here are the three limitations of Raoult's law. First one is Raoult's law is applicable only to very dilute solution, and second one is it is applicable to solution containing non-volatile solute only, and third one is it is not applicable to solute which dissociate or associate in a particular solution. Now I would like to discuss about Raoult's law in combination with Dalton's law of partial pressure. Then we find that Pt is equal to Xa P naught A plus Xb P naught B is equal to P naught B plus P naught A minus P naught B Xa, where Pt is equal to total vapor pressure of the solution. Now I would like to discuss about the ideal and non-ideal solution. I will start with ideal solution. Ideal solution, these solution obeys Raoult's law at all compositions of solute in solvent at all temperature. Two liquids A and B form an ideal solution when AA and BB molecular attraction will be the same, and hence A and B molecular attraction will be the almost same as AA and BB molecular attraction. For ideal solution we can say that first one is DH matrixing is equal to 0, that is no heat should be absorbed or evolved during matrixing, and second one is dv mixing is equal to 0, that is no expansion or contraction on mixing.
For example, ethyl chloride and ethyl bromide, and N-hexane and N-heptane, and last one is CCl4 and CiCl4. Now I would like to discuss about non-ideal solution. Non-ideal solutions, these solutions deviate from ideal behavior and do not obey the Rawls law or do not follow the Rawls law over entire range of composition. Here we may have two cases. First one is positive deviation and second one is negative deviation. First one is positive deviation. PA is greater than XA and PB is greater than XB. For example, cyclohexane and ethanol. In negative deviation, PA is greater than XA and PB is greater than XB. Here, the graph between vapor pressure and mole fraction where XA is equal to 0 and X2 is equal to 1, and second one is XA is equal to 1 and x2 is equal to 0, or x1 is equal to 1 or x2 is equal to 0. Now I would like to discuss about colligative properties. The colligative properties of dilute solution which depend only on the number particles of solute present in the solution and not on their identity is called as colligative properties, denoting depending upon connection. Now, lowering of vapor pressure by a non-volatile solute, then we can say that the relative lowering of vapor pressure of a solution containing a non-volatile solute is equal to the mole fraction of solute present in the solution. It is denoted by P naught 1 is equal to P1 by P naught 1 is equal to W2 into M1 by M2 into W1. Now the here elevation of boiling point by a non-volatile solute, then we can say that since the addition of a non-volatile solute lowers the vapor pressure of the solvent, the vapor pressure of solution is always lower than that of the pure solvent, and hence it must be heated to a higher temperature to make its vapor pressure equal to the atmospheric pressure. It is denoted by delta TB is equal to KB into 1000 into W2 by M2 into W1, where M1 is equal to molecular weight of solute and W2 and W1 are weight of the solute and solvent. Here the graph between vapor pressure and temperature. Now I would like to discuss very interesting topic, that is North distribution law or distribution law. North gave a generalization governing the distribution of a solute between two non-miscible solvents. This is called as North distribution law or North partition law or simply distribution law or partition law. A statement of North distribution law says if a solute X distributes itself between two immiscible solvent A and B at a constant temperature and X is in the same molecular condition in both solvent, then it is expressed via concentration of X in A divided by concentration of X in B is equal to Kd. If C1 denotes the concentration of solute X in solvent A and C2 the concentration of B, then North distribution law can be expressed as C1 divided by C2 is equal to Kd. The constant Kd or simply K is called the distribution coefficient or partition coefficient or distribution ratio. Here a question relating distribution coefficient. The problem one is a solid X is added to a mixture of benzene and water. After shaking well and allowing to stand, 10 ml of the benzene layer was found to contain 0.13 gram of X and 100 ml of water layer contained 0.22 gram of X. Calculate the value of distribution coefficient. Here the solution of the question, that is concentration of X in benzene, that is denoted by Cb, is equal to 0.13 divided by 10, and the concentration of X in water, that is denoted by Cw, is equal to 0.22 divided by 100. According to the distribution law, when Cb divided by Cw is equal to 0.013 divided by 0.0022 is equal to 5.9. Here the solubilities and distribution law. When a solute is shaken into two non-miscible solvent at equilibrium, both solvent are saturated with the solute. Since the solubility also represents concentration, we can write the distribution law as C1 divided by C2 is equal to S1 divided by S2 is equal to Kd, where S1 and S2 are solubilities of solute in the two solvents. Hence, knowing the value of distribution coefficient, that is Kd, and the solubility of solute in one of the solvent, the solubility of solute in second solvent can be calculated. Here, effect of ionic dissociation and molecular association on partition. Then we can say that during distribution, the solute may get associated into molecules in one liquid phase or may get dissociated into ions in either of liquid phase. And the distribution law stated that the ratio of undissociated or unionized solute which is distributed between two immiscible phases is at equilibrium is known as partition coefficient, that is denoted by K, and the distribution law applies only the concentration of a species common to both phases, namely the monomer or simple molecules of the solute. Here the limitations of the distribution law. First one is dilute solution, second one is constant temperature, third one is same molecular state, fourth one is equilibrium concentration, and last one is non-miscibility of the solvent. I will start with dilute solutions. The dilute solution, the concentration of solute must be low in two solvent. This law does not hold good when the concentrations are high. Next one is constant temperature. Then we can say that temperature should be kept constant throughout the experiment since solubility is dependent on the temperature. Third one is same molecular state. The solute must be in the same molecular state in both the solvent. And fourth one is equilibrium concentration. That is, this is achieved by shaking the mixture for longer time. And last one is non-miscibility of the solvent. So the solvent are to be allowed for separation for a sufficient time. Here the applications of distribution law. There are the main 7 applications of distribution law. First one is solvent extraction. Second one is partition chromatography. Third one is desilverization of lead. Fourth one is confirmatory test for bromine and iodine. Fifth one is determination of association. Sixth one is determination of dissociation. Seventh one is determination of solubility. I will start with solvent extraction. This one is the first application of the distribution law. This is the process used for the separation of organic substances for aqueous solution. The aqueous solution is shaken within an immiscible organic solvent such as ether or benzene in a separatory funnel. The distribution ratio being in a favor of ether, most of the organic substances phases into the ethereal layer, and the ethereal layer is separated and the ether distilled off organic substances is left behind. Next application is the partition chromatography. When we discuss about the partition chromatography, then we can say that a paste of the mixture is applied at the top of the column of silica soaked in water. Another immiscible solvent, that is hexane, is allowed to flow down the column. Each component of the mixture is partitioned between the stationary liquid phase, that is water, and the mobile liquid phase, that is hexane. The various components of the mixture are extracted by hexane in order of their distribution coefficients. Now the third application is desilverization of lead. When we discuss about the desilverization of that, then we can say that when the molten zinc is added to molten lead containing silver, zinc and lead form immiscible layer and silver is distributed between them. Since the distribution ratio is about 300 is favor of zinc at 800 degrees Celsius. Most of the silver passes into the zinc layer. On cooling the zinc layer, an alloy of silver and zinc separates, and the silver and zinc alloy is distilled in a retort when zinc passes over, leaving silver behind, and the lead layer still contains unextracted silver. After that, this is treated with fresh quantity of the molten zinc to recover most of the silver. Now the next application is confirmatory test for bromine and iodine. For the confirmatory test for bromine and iodine, then we can say that the salt solution is treated with chlorine water. After that, the small quantity of bromine or iodine is thus liberated. After that, the solution is then shaken with chloroform. On standing chloroform, the lower layer, the free bromine or iodine being more soluble in chloroform concentrates into the lower layer, making it red for bromine and violet for iodine. And next application is determination of association. When a substance is associated or polymerized with solvent A and exists as sample molecular in solvent B. Now the next application is determination of dissociation. When we talk about the determination of dissociation, suppose a substance X is dissociated in aqueous layer and exists as single molecules in ether. If X is the degree of dissociation or ionization, the distribution law is modified as C1 by C2 1 minus X is equal to K, where C1 is equal to concentration of X in benzene and C2 is equal to concentration of X in aqueous layer. The value of X can be determined from conductivity measurements while C1 and C2 are found experimentally. Thus, the value of K can be calculated using this value of K. The value of X for any other concentration of X can be determined. Now, the last application is determination of solubility. Suppose the solubility of iodine in benzene is to be determined. First of all, iodine is shaken with water and benzene at equilibrium concentrations of iodine in benzene, that is denoted by Cb, and water, that is denoted by Cw, are found experimentally, and the value of distribution coefficient calculated by Cb by Cw is equal to Kd, Sb by Sw is equal to Kd, where Sb is equal to solubility in benzene and Sw is equal to solubility in water. Now the next point is very important point is solvation and association. First of all, I will discuss about solvation. Solvation is a process by which solvent molecules surrounded and interact with solute ions or molecules. An important specific example of solvation is hydration, where the solvent is water. Now, when we discuss about association, then we can say that association is a chemical reaction whereby ions of opposite electric charge come together in solution to form a distinct chemical entity. The most important factor to be determine the extent of ion association is the dielectric constant of the solvent. When we discuss about solubility of liquid in liquid, then we find the three types of liquid mainly. First one is showing complete miscibility, for example, water and ethyl alcohol. Second one is showing complete immiscibility, for example, water and mercury. And last one is showing partially miscibility, for example, water and phenol. Then we find that the components of an ideal solution are miscible in all proportions, such as complete miscibility is also observed in some real binary system. For example, ethanol and water under normal conditions. Attractions between molecules of one component are greater than those between its molecules and those of other components. That is, if a positive deviation from Raoult's law occurs, the miscibility of components may be reduced, and the greater strength of the self-association, the greater the immiscibility, and the greater the degree of positive deviate from Raoult's law. For example, of large positive deviate, that is water and mercury binary system. In case of partially miscibility, then we find that temperature have a great role in case of solubility. Degree of miscibility may be depend on the temperature. Here the four conditions takes place. First one is solubility increase with increase in temperature, that is water and phenol. Second condition is solubility decrease with increase in temperature, that is water and triethylamine. And third condition is solubility increase with decrease and increase in temperature, that is water and nicotine. And fourth one is solubility not affected by the temperature. In case of three component system, the third liquid may influence the degree of solubility of two liquid systems. Effect of the temperature variation on the degree of miscibility in these systems is described by means of phase diagram. Phase diagram says graphs of temperature versus composition at constant P. Here the system showing an increase in miscibility with rise in the temperature. We find that a positive deviation from Raoult's law due to difference in the cohesive force that exists between the molecules of each component in liquid mixtures. We find temperature increase and positive deviation decrease and miscibility increase. Each phase consists of saturated solution of one component in other liquid, and such saturated solution are known as conjugated solutions. Here the graph of phenol and water system phase diagram. With the help of this diagram, we can see over here temperature fixed at 50 degrees Celsius. Then we can find point A system containing 100% pure water. Addition of phenol to water will result in formation of a single liquid phase until the point B is reached. At point B appears a second phase. Here the two phase are appears. Phase 1, that is water reach phase containing 11% of phenol, and phase B, that is phenol reach phase containing 63% of phenol. At 50 degrees Celsius, we can see over here aqueous phase saturated with phenol contains 11% of phenol, that is point B. Phenolic phase saturated with water, that is contains 63% of phenol, that is point C. With the help of this diagram, we can see over here The line BC drawn across the region containing two phases is termed as tie lines. It is always parallel to the baseline in two-component system. All system prepared on a tie line at 50 degrees Celsius will separate into phase of constant composition whose compositions is B and C. These phases are termed as conjugate phases. Here the example to understand this phenomena. Example is a mixture of phenol and water at 20 degrees Celsius has a total compositions of 50% of phenol. The tie line at this temperature cuts the curve at points equivalent to 8.4 and 72.2 percentage weight by weight phenol. Here the two questions are arises. First one is what is the weight of the aqueous layer and of phenol layer in 500 gram of the mixture, and second question is how many gram of phenol are present in each of two layers. The solution is let Z be the weight in gram of aqueous layer. 500 minus Z is the weight in gram of phenol layer. The sum of the percentage of phenol in two layers is equal to 500 into 50 by 100 is equal to 250 gram. Z, that is 8.4 by 100 plus 500 minus Z, and 72.2 by 100 is equal to 250. First one is weight of aqueous layer Z is equal to 174 gram. Weight of phenol layer 500 minus Z is equal to 326 gram. And second one is the weight of phenol in aqueous layer 174 into 8.4 by 100 is equal to 15 gram. The weight of phenol in phenolic layer 326 into 72.2 by 100 is equal to 235 grams. Now here the effect of added substances on critical solution temperatures. Critical solution temperature is also called as CST in short. Critical solution temperature are very sensitive to impurities or added substances. The addition of a substances to a binary liquid system produces a ternary system. The effect of additives on CST, when we talk about the types of CST, is upper, the solubility of additive in each component that is approx equal soluble in both component, and effect on CST is lowered and effect of miscibility is increased. When the type of CST is upper, the solubility of additive in each component that is readily soluble in one component but not in other. Effect of CST is raised and effect on miscibility is decreased. When the types of CST is lower, the solubility of additive in each component that is approx equal soluble in both component and effect on CST is raised and effect on miscibility is increased. When the type of CST is lower, the solubility of additive in each component that is readily soluble in one component but not in other, and effect on CST that is lowered and effect on miscibility that is decreased. Now here practical demonstration of solubilization. Solubilization is the process of bringing into solution substances which are insoluble or springly soluble in water. Here the methods of solubilization. There are four methods of solubilization. First one is the use of mixed solvents, that is blending and co-solvency. And second one is the use of surface active agent, that is micelle formation. And third one is the use of hydrotropic salts, for example iodine and potassium iodine. And last one is complex formation, for example caffeine and barbiturates. Now here determination of solubility of benzoic acid. Here the procedure, first of all, in a glass bottle add 0.5 gram of benzoic acid and 20 ml of distilled water. After that, shake for 10 minutes and set aside for another 10 minutes. After that, filter the contents of bottle Take 10 ml of the filtrate and titrate with 0.1 normal NaOH using as indicator 3 to 5 drops. After that, the endpoint is determined by the appearance of the first permanent faint pink color. After that, repeat the above step using surfactant solution like 1%, 3%, 5%, and 7% instead of distilled water and determine the endpoints. Thank you very much for your patience throughout the entire lecture. Thank you so much.